Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Where can I get my pickles when I can't get to a farmer's market or festival? The answer is Pickle Island in Bayville, New York. Listen, I've been selling a small pickle my whole life. I know all about it. From the vine to the brine, they keep their pickles cold with a delicious, diverse selection of gourmet pickles, including their savory classic bread and butter sweet chip, horseradish pickle, jalapeno pickle, and sweet Cajun pickle. They even got pickled beets and okra, a variety of sour treats for your next barbecue or get-together. But if you visit their store in Bayville, Long Island, New York, there's so much more. A fantastic selection of physical media, comics, music, movies, VHS, and Matt Roran. They're enthusiastic pickle salesmen. It's kind of a big deal. Check them out now at HormansBestPickles.com. Hey, quit jerking your gherkin and head over to Pickle Island in Bayville, New York. You've seen these guys at all the horror shows and Comic-Cons. Now you can get your very own inked up merch, the finest in embroidered horror and sci-fi themed merchandise. From Lost Boys to Street Trash, from Chopping Mall to Cobra Kai, Inked Up has the best in embroidered beanies, baseball caps, and patches. Now they've even got their own Jaws-inspired Amity Island board shorts. You gotta take a look, these things are cool. Visit their Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/inkedupmerch. Are you looking to get your own printed or embroidered merch? Inked Up has been in business for over 10 years. Whether you're looking for merch for your band, or you need crew logo shirts and hats for your first film production, you need some sick-looking perks for your Kickstarter project, Inked Up can accommodate your needs with their custom silkscreen printing and embroidery services. Visit inkedupmerch.com and tell them Jerry sent you. Welcome to The Offering with Jerry Horror, the show where we can have a quiet and frank discussion as adults about the things that matter to me, or at least that I think matter to me. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you get fine podcasts, and hey, stay up to date on future episodes. This week on The Offering, it's the Friday the 13th Super Special with my very special guest, Bobby Heckman. He's going to be talking all about his new film, Victim No More. Ladies and gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to another pulse-pounding episode of The Offering with me, your host, Jerry Horror. This week, boy oh boy, you know what I'm going to say. It's going to be a barn burner. Friday the 13th Super Special with the beautiful Bobby Heckman. It's going down, director of Victim No More. He's going to talk all about his movie. We're going to talk about all things Friday the 13th. But you know as well as I know, I got some business that I got to talk about with y'all. So let's get into it. This is just a thought that was going around in my head, okay? Nobody wants to tell you the truth. The Kardashians don't want to tell you the truth. Reality TV doesn't want to tell you the truth. The president doesn't want to tell you the truth. So my takeaway for everybody is you got to be honest with yourself, okay? And that's where we get into the whole shit about my life. Everybody's been saying to me, Jerry, where is season 2 of The Offering? Why is season 2 not dropped? Why are you not consistently dropping episodes? Well, there's been a couple of reasons, but I figured I'd be brutally honest with you and tell you the truth about what's going on. Unlike the Kardashians and unlike the president, Jerry Horror shoots straight. It's not easy talking about this because I've never really come out on a public forum, but since the year 2000, I've suffered with anxiety and depression. And it got so bad that I was having these panic attacks. I couldn't leave the house. There was a solid 2 weeks where I just did not leave the house. It got kind of messy, let's put it that way. And luckily, producer/seducer Pete, my friend Jeremy, Sean King, who was on the boarding house episode, nice callback, they helped me get out of the dumps, whatever you want to call it. It was pretty bad. I never had thought about suicide that much. And to be quite frank with you, it scared me. I'm one of those people that I never killed myself because it's kind of like a Terminator. I can't self-destruct. It just goes against whatever's in my brain. Sometimes it's hard for me to commit to a brand of candy. So committing to the act of suicide would have been just too much. But I have to tell you, it did cross my mind quite a bit. I didn't know when these panic attacks were going to stop or how they were going to stop. And I was in a pretty dark place. So if you want to know why there haven't been new episodes or what's been going on, that's the reason. But I'm here today, and I'm talking to you now. I have gotten through this. It's still a battle every day. Meditation, believe it or not, meditation and a program by Barry McDonough called DARE has really helped me. And it's basically about changing the way you think and the wiring of your brain. If you know someone or you think someone is suffering with suicidal thoughts, anxiety, or even if they're just feeling a little blue, always check on your friends. Make sure they're okay. It's important. Mental health is wealth, okay? It's the same thing. If your head ain't right, the body ain't going to follow, and, well, you know how that goes. But I'm doing it. And day by day, I get a little bit stronger, I get a little bit more resilient, and further away from being within the darkness that I was. So that's why we've had such a problem getting to this second season. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you know, if you have dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts, you have anxiety, get some help. Talk to somebody. Worst comes to worst, if you have to, go to the emergency room. They will figure out a plan, but nobody should have to suffer through that stuff. So it's important that we take care of each other. Okay. That was incredibly personal. So now let me deflect because that's what I do. I am pissed off about fan commentaries. Hear me out. Now, there are people like, I've said before, like We Hate Movies, and they do film commentaries, and there's 4 of them, and they're able to kind of vibe off of each other. I want to say they do it more in the style of almost like improv, and I like that. And they generally go for films, that you don't suspect. Like they just did one of the Harry Potter films recently. But fan commentaries piss me off because you have a lot of people that are just they're like mutants, and not the good mutants from the drive-in with Joe Bob and, not those kind of mutants. They're just actual fucking mutants and probably shouldn't have a microphone or a camera in front of their face. And I'm not saying that I'm better than them, but here's the deal. I respect John Carpenter's The Fog enough not to fucking talk over it, okay? If people want that content and you're making that content and that's what it is, God bless. But for the most part, a lot of you don't need to be talking over these classic movies because you're not adding anything to the conversation. In fact, you're detracting from a larger piece of art, okay? There, I said it. You don't like it, you can come at me, at Jerry Horror, Twitter, Instagram. Come talk to me. So, yeah, my final piece of business here, needed to just get into it. Make your movies. If you got a screenplay, write your screenplay. During this whole thing, one of the things that helped me get through this dark period of my life, producer Pete and I worked on a couple of screenplays, and they turned out pretty damn good. So you know what? I think it's therapeutic, but make your movies. Go ahead, just go do it. Don't talk about it. Don't say, oh, well, it would be cool. Just go fucking do it. Because today's guest, Bobby Heckman, just went and did it. Make a movie. He's going to tell us how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I just host this podcast, but you're going to learn. Folks, we have got a great show for you today. We're talking all things Friday the 13th. You're going to really dig this show. And, on the other side of the break, I will see you. And until then, be well and take care of each other. I'm not sure if Jerry Springer used to say that, but he probably did. He's another famous Jerry. It worked out for him. So, whatever. number one brand in the entire world is Coca-Cola. I want that to sink in just for a minute, because Friday the 13th is definitely the Coca-Cola of the slasher genre, if not the entire horror genre itself. See, let's go back into the 80s. There was a reckless and lawless nature, especially for mom and pop video stores in the 80s. And the way that a lot of kids discovered the Friday the 13th films was through these VHS tapes. I was one of them. I wasn't allowed to see the original movies. My parents, for one reason or another, they always said that there was no redeeming factor to any of the Friday the 13ths. My parents were fine with A Nightmare on Elm Street, even stuff like John Carpenter's Halloween, because if it had some kind of creativity and cinematic value, I was allowed to watch it. Now, here's what happens when you tell a kid he's not allowed to watch a series of movies. That child, being me, became obsessed with the Friday the 13th franchise. There was no turning back, because it was forbidden. It was a door that wasn't supposed to be opened. So you knew at every chance that I could get, whether it was a video store, Fangoria magazine, I was tuning in and my brain was fried by that Friday the 13th goodness.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Friday the 13th. You may only see it once, but that will be enough. Friday the 13th, rated R.
I have a very special guest today. His name is Bobby Heckman. He's director of a film called Victim No More. We're going to talk all things Friday the 13th, especially his new film, Victim No More. Wow, I'm going to plug it more than he does. Bobby, welcome to The Offering.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jerry. We're here again.
We're here again.
Yes.
How many years ago was it? I was doing Horror Mania, which is another show.
Yeah, it's definitely been, it's got to be 10 years. It's got to be the 10th anniversary of the first time, your first podcast, right?
That's right, yeah.
And it was the first time I was ever on a podcast. And what did we discuss?
Friday the 13th, because that's all we know.
And it was 3 episodes. We did parts 1 to 4. Then the next week we did 5 to 8, and then
oh my god,
then the New Line stuff, 9 to 12.
It's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned since then is to slow down. And I think that at some point I will cover the Friday the 13th films.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's some interesting stories to be told, but I kind of want to pick and choose my fight with that so I can give it proper justice.
Right.
So let me just go into this really quick with you. What was your first experience with the Friday the 13th franchise?
I must have been 6 or 7 years old. So this is around 81, 82. That I must have seen pieces of part 2 on Channel 11, which is PIX.
That was my same experience. I saw it was either part 2 or it was part 3 where the hippie is down, the Chong looking dude is down in the basement.
Right. Yeah.
I went down, I was downstairs. We had a finished basement where we used to live. I ran downstairs and I know I wasn't supposed to be watching it. I was probably 6 or 7 years old and it was on Channel 11. It was like the 11 o'clock movie that goes to 1 o'clock and it was too scary. I watched like 5 minutes and I shut up. It was too scary because it was in my head.
Okay. I don't know if so much it like scared me. I was just really intrigued by it. My first like horror film experience was Night of the Living Dead. To a movie that like at a young age, 6 or 7 years old, or in the same year, I saw it and it was very unsettling, that kind of ending. And like, oh, like movies don't always end happy. Like, yeah. So that kind of shocked me. And then I saw Halloween when it premiered.
Yeah.
Was
that NBC?
I think it was NBC. It was 1981. It was part 2 was coming out.
That was the infamous NBC, and they were running the commercials for the second film.
Right, and it had the extended footage because they had shot that during part 2 with Jamie Lee Curtis and Dr. Loomis at the and I for years, for like the next like 8 to 10 years after that, I preferred the extended edition because that's what I was introduced with.
Yep.
Was that Dr. Loomis talking to the doctors, and I love that scene, Had no idea they just did that to just, extend it for TV because they had to cut out like some of the, the sex scene and some other things.
Do you remember they did the Godfather saga? That was it was basically the Godfather 1 and 2 all mashed together.
Yes.
Somebody recently, and it's been making the rounds at horror conventions, it's the extended cut of Halloween and the second movie all edited together.
That's awesome.
And I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And
it's all one movie, all one night.
Well, not to foreshadow, but that's how fans start taking over the narrative.
Yes, absolutely. But getting back to Friday the 13th, then I believe I've seen pieces of part 2. I might have recorded part 2 with the VCR. And I saw part 3 at a cousin's house. And I was like, oh man, I need to so we went to the my mom and I, we go to the local library, and then I took out the first one because I needed to see how it all began. And then I saw them as they were coming out on video, and then part 7 was my first theatrical experience when I was 12.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind, how the audience participation of part 7 was incredible. It was like it was a party. People were excited about seeing the kills. That every time something happened to Jason, somebody would yell, "Is he dead?" And the rest of the audience would say, "No," and then he would come back.
Yeah.
And it was just a party. You expected the beach ball to come out and start bouncing around the audience.
It's funny because the first one that I saw was part 4, which is the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my Aunt Estelle's house. I was with my cousins who were all older, and they rented it and they put it on. And I'm like, holy shit, this is it. I'm going to get to see this movie. I'm here. And no one's saying anything. It's just dumb little kid. I'm like, I am not making a peep. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this film. And I want to say almost into the second act, my aunt came in and saw boobs on the screen and she's like, he can't be watching this. And I was like, fuck. So then I had to wait until later and I had to ask my cousin Scott. I'm like, so what happened? And he explained the events that unfold after the second act of the final chapter. And I was like, wow, that sounds like the greatest movie ever made.
It is.
Yeah. And then for me, theatrically, when I saw the first theatrical film was Jason Lives. And it was with cousin Scott. We were up at Lake George in New York, upstate New York, which pretty much, looks like Camp Crystal Lake. I was terrified out of my mind during that vacation. Probably not the best idea, but I begged him. I said, cousin Scott, I swear to God, I will do anything. Please just don't tell my parents and take me to see Jason Lives. And I saw it and it blew my mind. I was like, this is cinema. This is the greatest film ever made.
I think I agreed at the time. I had one of my closest and dearest friends I grew up with. His name is Tommy Chiesa. We really kind of influenced each other in seeing all the horror movies that were out. We'd rent movies every week at the video store and watch them together, and we both loved Friday the 13th. He'd oh, you hadn't seen part 5 yet? Let's watch part 5. And we'd go nuts. We would play Jason because we were 9 or 10 years old. So one of us would dress up like Jason and chase the other one around the house or around the backyard and get friends over, and we'd hash out some kind of plot. We were doing basically fan films with no cameras.
Yeah.
At the time. I remember one story we did was called Training Camp Nightmare.
Ooh.
Where we were we were playing different characters of it was a boot camp or something.
Yeah.
This was our 9-10-year-old minds, So we were and we'd all be different characters. There would be the prankster and then the idiot and the drug addict and so, all kinds of just weird characters. And then one of us would be Jason and then be picking off the others. And it had a beginning, middle, and end. We just didn't film it.
We did the same thing. When I was a kid, we used to play Manhunt, but instead of Manhunt, we would call it Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And somebody would be chosen as Jason. And that was a very enviable role. Everybody wanted to be Jason.
Of course.
Do you remember there was a Commodore 64 game that was
Yes.
It was terrible?
Yes.
And it was just Jason was a little black guy that just and I don't mean black in color. He was. It wasn't like, Jason was played by Lawrence Fishburne. No, he wasn't like African American. He was just a little black guy that went across the screen.
Yeah, and I don't remember what he looked like, but I remember you're the main character. You're going around, and the screen would freeze, and you would hear a scream.
Yep.
And then you would have to find the dead body. And the way you could revive them, you had to revive the dead body by hitting them with an axe.
Yeah.
And then they would just pop back up and walk away.
Well,
I'm like, what?
It's such a simple game, but
backwards.
I swear to God, we must have played that game for 24 hours straight.
I played it at my cousin's house.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was like it was one of those things simpler times, you know.
Yeah. That and Space Taxi. That was the Commodore games that we played.
Space Taxi is a good game. I remember Space Taxi. There's like half of the audience right now is like, how fucking old are these guys?
Well, let me just explain. Like, for the most part, the people that have these clear memories of like, you know, growing up with the Friday the 13th movies, I feel like it's really like specifically the people in their 40s to their, you know, mid 50s.
Yeah.
I guess like that generation, our generation, Generation X, like we have that experience with it, you know, like, so it's, and because we're so passionate about it, we have such clear memories of that, you know, like, and I don't know, I find it really special that like, I'm so happy to grow up in the time that we did. Because I don't know if it, you know, I mean, everybody's going to have their own experience with Friday the 13th movies, and especially the first one that they see, usually the one that introduces them, it could be Jason Goes to Hell, which is one of my least favorites, but to somebody, it's their favorite one because it was their first one they saw in theaters, or it's the first one they came across on DVD or VHS or whatever, you know, and it's like, so they have a special connection to that. And I think that's pretty awesome. And I wonder what this new generation, because it hasn't been a Friday the 13th movie in 13 years. So it's like, what is the next generation? You know, do they even care about the movies? Or like, are they going to be exposed to it somehow? Like, I don't know, if I was exposed to something that had like, you know, 12 films in the franchise, I'd be so curious. And I mean, you go to Party City, you go anywhere now, Hot Topic, or, you know, anywhere. There's Friday the 13th merchandise everywhere.
It's $1 billion franchise.
As a kid who maybe loved film, I'd be like, what is this? Let me sit down and watch these. I you know, but that's just me. I don't know if kids today,
we had to put in work. We had to go to the video store, and back in the old days when there were mom and pops before Blockbuster, if they were cool, they were just like, here you go. They don't care what you're renting. Like, I rented The Toxic Avenger. I was like 7 years old. Nobody cared.
I also have a clear memory of renting that too. And my dad thought it was hilarious.
But now it's you know, with the streaming, everybody's got everything at their fingertips. So you can, you know, I mean, if kids want, it's like the old days we used to have to go into the woods to look at porn. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just open your father's iPad. Right. But what I was going to say was, essentially, like my sister, she's in her 20s, and it's Scream for them.
Yes.
They grew up with Scream. It was,
absolutely.
You know, the beginning of DVD, still VHS tapes hanging around. That's their franchise that is the most akin to, because it's a sweet spot. And what I mean by the whole you and I, at the ages we're at, we are at the sweet spot growing up with it on VHS, the video games, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. My parents saw the original Friday the 13th in theaters. I was like 2 or 3 years old, and they didn't like it. Mm-hmm. They just, because there was no characters to them. It was like, all these people are just here to get killed. And right. I think that was the generational difference of like my parents growing up with stuff like Alfred Hitchcock, the Universal monsters. And then this is a little bit different. Again,
I think it was made for the teenagers then.
Yep.
So who are in their mid 50s now. Like it was made for them and younger.
Yeah.
To grow up and enjoy. And take whatever they want from it. I don't think anybody in their like 30s, your parents were probably 30 years old at that time or something. You know, it's like that, unless they were really into, you know, the slasher genre or the horror genre at that time, I could see not being interested in, you know, and I don't know.
Well, this is why I talk about Friday the 13th becoming the Coca-Cola of the slasher franchise. And it is the most dominant and easily recognizable brand among all of the slashers because, you know, Friday the 13th is a boilerplate reaction to Halloween. And a lot of other people who, you know, they had never really made a movie. And I'm not saying like Sean Cunningham, but like, you know, the lesser productions that you got. So by 81, 82, you're completely saturated. There's like a million slasher movies. But Friday the 13th is like the Rocky Balboa of those franchises. And it's like kind of winner takes it all. And then even it had its lull because Nightmare on Elm Street comes out, changes the game. So there were people that, like me, I'll always love Jason Voorhees. Like, I love Freddy Krueger. I love them all. But at the end of the day, if you have that connection and it left that indelible impression, whether it was, you know, your first movie was Jason X or whether it was part 3, like we talk about
3D.
Oh my!
You said
God.
you would never call it 3. It's always 3D.
Yeah, it is part 3D. What's crazy too is like, could you know, a lot of times I think the question people ask is like, if you could go back in time and you go to any movie theater, I'm like, it's always Bloodsport or RoboCop. RoboCop or Bloodsport is my de facto answer. But Friday the 13th 3D must have been incredible to see, you know, live with a real crazy audience, you know?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have now seen all the Friday the 13th in theaters, you know, at like retro picture shows and stuff like that. Seeing the 3D was incredible. It's like, it's the only way to see that movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's the only way, man. Yeah, because otherwise it's just kind of like gimmicky and it doesn't quite work when you're just watching it on 2D and, but the 3D experience, whoo, man, it works. It's fantastic.
Friend of the show, Sean King, we just had gotten around to watching part 3D with the active shutter glasses and the whole spiel that came with the new box set that they had done. And I got to tell you, man, it slaps, especially the daytime stuff. The nighttime stuff doesn't really work as well, except for the head crush. But the daytime stuff just pops, man. It's beautiful. Shout out to Scream Factory, a.k.a. Shout Factory, for doing an incredible box set. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. That box set is probably one of my holy grails in my collection right now.
I love it. I love that box set so much. Yeah.
I would love to see like Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's got to be next. I mean,
got to be.
They did Halloween. They did Friday the 13th. They have to do Nightmare on Elm Street. That is the Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman of our generation. So it's like, that's got to be the next box set.
I think we're going to see it sooner than later, you know, because there's just so much love for it. I think the difference with Freddy Krueger obviously was that you needed Robert Englund.
Right.
The difference with Friday the 13th was, and I want to say probably up until Kane Hodder, you know, Ted White is probably one of my favorites because he has like a really goofy run. I like Ted White a lot.
Kind of like an ape a little bit. I always loved Ted White and C.J. Graham, actually.
C.J. Graham, yeah.
Yeah.
Part 6, Jason Lives.
I prefer non-breathing Jason, you know, if he's zombie Jason from Part 6 on. I mean, I loved Kane Hodder in Part 7, but I think somewhere, you know, halfway through Part 8, I was like, all right, I'm done with this kind of style of Jason. I mean, I still love Kane, and you know, I enjoyed watching him in all the movies. But just personally, as you know, I loved C.J. Graham and his, you know, stiff, dead, you know, almost seems soulless.
It's like this stoic kind of performance, like he's an immovable object.
Yeah, just, you know, soulless. You know, where Kane like was breathing life into literally breathing life into the character, and had his own thing. Well, I love it all. I mean, that's really what I got to say is that I love every single one of them for many different reasons.
Exactly.
Even the ones that are my least favorite, I am so happy they exist. Like Part 8 and Part 9 might be my least favorites, but I have such great nostalgia connected to them. My mom and I snuck into Jason Takes Manhattan.
Ooh.
When I was a kid. It was the only movie we ever snuck into.
Nice.
We saw something, I think we saw Turner and Hooch. I think it came out the same weekend.
Yeah.
So right after that, my mom was like, you want to go sneak into Jason Takes Manhattan? I'm like, hell yeah. So we went, and that, like, I'll always have that memory, and I'll watch that movie as much as I can't stand most of it. I will watch that movie every year.
Oh yeah.
And you know, there are pieces in all the movies that I like. You know, even ones like 8 and 9, which aren't my favorites. But I love that people hate Jason X. I'm like, I'm glad it exists. It's the sci-fi comedy Jason movie. It's, you know, it's
I went to see that in theaters, and we went.
I saw it twice. Yeah.
Opening night on Friday the 13th, and it was me and my friend, and by friend I mean me and Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Noted doctor.
Those movies are really an audience out of all of them. Like Halloween, the Halloween franchise is very like, they're like better quality films, you know, like as far as like acting and style and suspense and stuff like that. Whereas the Friday 13th, I feel, are always like the audience participation, like fun ride.
Yeah.
You know, like you're going in there to see like some creative kills and some wacky fun characters.
We're here to have fun.
And like, how is Jason gonna get it in the end? Like, who's gonna be the final girl? And you know,
what's Jason gonna look like without his mask on?
Yeah, well, in every single Friday the 13th, he has a different style.
Yeah,
you know, like, because it's always a different makeup artist or whatever.
It's so funny now because everything is so uniform. Like, you look at the MCU and the Marvel films, they would never, like, there would be somebody, you know, in licensing or branding would be like, it has to look consistent. Jason has to look this way in every film now.
Right.
They would never let that fly.
Yeah. It could be true, but, you know, and it's just funny how they did that. And it's like, and it's funny, and we didn't care about continuity.
No.
You know, like, we had, like, one thing that bothered me a lot in the beginning of Jason Takes Manhattan was when you first see Jason come back to life, he's wearing leather gloves. And it's like, where'd he get those? It's like, because part 7, he had the bony hands. It's like, where did he get the gloves from? He just all of a sudden has gloves. It's like the continuity didn't matter.
Yeah, know? his visage in Jason Takes Manhattan is a downgrade for me. The John Carl Buechler,
the soggy white, you know, he's all pussy.
Yeah,
but again, it's like,
it's a choice.
It's a choice, and you know, and I love that. You know, again, it's my least favorite, but I'm happy it exists. I'm happy that there's fans out there that's their favorite one. That might have been their introduction to it. It's a specific look. So when you see, you know, if they ever make that Jason Takes Manhattan figure, you immediately know it. I see it cosplayed all the time at conventions. You know, the Jason Takes Manhattan. He's holding like the fire axe or something.
It's the wet Jason versus the dry rub Jason.
Yeah.
It's funny because, you know, I feel like as you get older, there's films in the series that you appreciate more. Mm-hmm. And the two that I've grown to love, I love Part 5. I love Jason Takes Roy, whatever you want to call it.
Roy the paramedic.
Yeah, The New Beginning. And
Roy Burns.
Love that movie. I love it because it's the last of the sleazy movies.
Yeah.
It's you know, Danny Steinman directed it. I mean, Jesus, this guy, he did a lot of porn, you know. Mm-hmm. And
Savage Streets.
And Savage Streets with the lovely Linda Blair.
Right.
Definitely check that one out. That's a recommend from The Offering. Yeah, it's crazy because as time went on, and even like the second movie, it's like, well, he doesn't have his hockey mask in the second movie. Because a lot of times we were getting what was available. Sometimes you went to the mom and pop and they didn't have Part 3. So those films that I go back and now I say to myself, I'm like, wow, I really like Part 2. Part 2 and Part 5 are something that I've gone on now as I've gotten older. I'm like, I fucking love these movies. They're so good. And I love this box set. I can't talk enough about this box set, but man, I watch it and I'm like, oh, Part 2 slaps and they look beautiful. They're gorgeous, especially if you got the Blu-rays. So this was kind of my question to you, Bobby.
Okay.
What's your favorite entry in the Friday the 13th franchise?
Well, growing up until probably my mid-20s, I would say Part 6, Jason Lives, was my favorite growing up. I
agree.
Adored Jason Lives. It was just, I love the gothic horror element. I love the humor in it. I love how it flowed. Tommy Jarvis, you know, everything about it I loved. Now, since my mid-20s, I realized that part 4, the final chapter, is my favorite ultimate.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, but it's like neck and neck with part 6. If you want like a top 3, it's really 4, 6, 2. Those are my top 3.
I'm going part 4 because you got the Fell Dog, you got Corey Feldman.
Fell Dog.
And that's the interesting thing about that movie is you're watching it, and we were kids growing up. We're watching these movies, and it's like, oh shit, there's a little kid in this movie.
Yeah.
So you definitely are seeing it from his perspective.
Yeah, it's an extra
layer on the onion.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that the final girl in it, Trish Jarvis, is, you know, it's that extra danger.
Yeah.
That you know, she not only is she trying to escape from a maniac, she also has to like protect her family at the same time.
We got the dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the dog that just takes off and jumps out the window.
I still would like to believe that
Gordon.
Jason throws Gordon out the window. In my mind, that's
I
what
think he
happened.
got so scared he jumped out the window and he's just like, I'm out. Gonna find a new family to live with far away from here.
Yeah, seriously, find Harry and the Hendersons. if he's lucky. No, I just and hey, if we got to talk about another reason that I love that movie, it's got the twins.
Mm-hmm.
They
Crispin Glover.
Well, come on, man.
Come on.
Crispin Hellion Glover. Jesus
has
Christ.
Such fun characters, like just fun, goofy teenage characters. That,
you're a dead fuck.
You're a dead fuck. Come on, that whole stuff was, you know, they like ad-libbed that stuff.
Yeah.
The director just wanted them to like talk about something in the back of the station wagon, and it just carried on through the film. The whole dead fuck thing, that wasn't in the script.
Yeah,
you know, like it's cool that like the director gave them that much freedom and trust to come up with dialogue that we as an audience would find entertaining, and it's stuck with us ever since. You know?
Joe Zito goes on to make another recommend from The Offering, Invasion USA,
which we watched the last time we hung out.
We did watch that, and it's like it's kind of cool because there's this weird synergy. You're like, Jason, Chuck Norris, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, why not?
It's mayhem.
He's taking out bad guys. Oh
yeah.
Wait, no, that's not the case at all. Is it?
Well, that's the other thing too. Is when you're a kid, like I'm kind of rooting for Jason. I hate to say it, like there was a part of me like I really like this Jason guy.
I'm rooting for him, like, in the clever ways that he's going to off the characters that you immediately know that they're not going to make it.
Yeah,
but I do like to see the final girl stand up to him and take him out at the end. I like the killing of the taking revenge on the monster kind of story.
It's crazy because I thought we would have a lot more here, but we both love Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's the quintessential film, right? Like
it really is. It has. I mean, because at the time they thought it might be the last one.
Let's go all out.
Yeah, let's go all out. I mean, the battle damage that Kimberly Beck does to him is like, you know, TV to the head, machete in the hand, the hammer smacking it into his neck, and you know, like she beats the hell out of him because, hey, this is probably going to be the last one, right? Let's go all out. Give Savini all the money to do what he can, you know. But
the reality of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is that you can give it to any person, any walk of life, and I think it's the one movie that you're like, so you want to see what this franchise is all about? That's the one.
Yeah, especially since it has the recap in the beginning. So it's like if you never saw part 1, 2, and 3, they recap it for you in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you can continue on and just watch that film.
Previously on Friday the 13th.
Last season.
It's crazy because now it's like, you know, these films, they're so cyclical and, you know, people forget. That was, I was listening to one of the producers on Rocky and they were explaining like, we kind of had to do this thing because it had been so many years between sequels. It's like the average moviegoer is, you know, forgot what happened.
Right.
You know, not like little nerds like us who were watching it on VHS and it's like, I know what happened because I just took out the other VHS.
I love the Part 7 recap, too.
Part 7 recap is the best.
Yeah, it's great.
I watched it so much on the VHS that I wore it down. If you put on the first 5 minutes of my New Blood, it doesn't work.
And I love that it's Crazy Ralph, Wart Gorney, doing the the narration. It's so cool.
I feel like, I don't know, if I was given a crack at Friday the 13th myself, I would be like, I really got to double down on that Crazy Ralph character. That's the direction to go in.
Right.
So we need to talk about it because it has to be talked about.
Okay.
The state of the franchise. We haven't had a proper Friday the 13th film since the 2009 remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And that film delivered, and I like that movie a lot.
I really like it. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it more than, like, some of the ones that I thought were lesser films. I mean, I had some issues with it, but hey, we're fans.
Yeah.
We're always going to have some kind of issue here and there with something. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that we don't still love it and still, we're going to watch it.
Well, that's it always goes back to the old, the comparison to McDonald's. A good hamburger is a good hamburger is a good hamburger. And when you had that, it was basically that point in time in the early aughts where everything was getting remade. We got Rob Zombie's Halloween. We got the Michael Bay version, even Bay didn't direct it. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw. So
Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, the Platinum Dunes films, which I love the Hills Have Eyes remake.
I prefer it.
Yeah.
I love the original, but I prefer something about the tension in it is really unsettling.
It's a gruesome film.
Yeah, it's pretty great, honestly. And I love the My Bloody Valentine 3D.
Oh, it was great.
Loved it in 3D, and I think it's really well done.
It's a solid movie.
So I don't mind remakes and reboots and stuff like that. The originals will always be there.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what you love, but I look at the Friday the 13th movies, because honestly, the state of the franchise is it's been 13 years.
Dear God.
They're going to have to reboot it again with wherever the rights wind up. I really deeply feel that's what it is. And if they give it a little bit of a decent budget, not too much, but like make a budget enough to make its money back, to make more sequels, because that's what we want. We want it to go on
Just
forever.
Give us product.
I feel like the franchise, when it reaches 11 or 12 films, you're entering Godzilla franchise. You're entering James Bond franchise. Like it's that type of thing. It's
a special pantheon.
Yes, exactly. And like the Godzilla movies, there's a bunch of like remakes in the 30 plus movies that the Godzilla movies have. Godzilla, like 1985, that was a remake, basically. I mean, it was like a sequel to the first one, but it was rebooting that franchise. And then we had the 80s and 90s Godzilla movies, and then into the 2000s, and they, every like generation, they kind of like reboot it a little bit so the next generation can enjoy. But I always compare it to Godzilla and James Bond, like, because there's certain patterns to the films, and you want to see those patterns. You want to expect, what you expect to love from those movies.
I have to go on record too, and I got to state this: the Friday the 13th 2009 film was the highest grossing out of them all. It beat the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which was just fucking dreadful. I don't like it. I have nothing good to say about it, and I love Jackie Earle Haley, but it's a terrible film.
I like the micro nap part, the micro sleeps where like they were like they didn't know if they were like sleeping or awake because they haven't slept in so long, so they were like blinking in and out of dreamland. I thought that was cool. That's the biggest thing I took from it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Even the lesser entries, you can kind of look at and say, hey, they did this right, or this was an interesting idea or a concept. But we're kind of at that point in time now, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot, Bobby.
It's what we all think about.
Scream should have never left the 90s.
Okay.
Just an opinion.
Right.
And I don't think Friday the 13th should have ever left the 80s. I think it's kind of one of these series, like if I personally was going to reboot it now, I would have it be like 1983, 1984, self-contained story. because the way I would move the franchise forward is these little they're just tales of Jason.
Okay.
You know, and there's not a through line. There's not going to be returning characters. It's just, this is the story we're telling, and that's it. And you know, they tried to do a bunch of sequels to the 2009 film. They were going to do a found footage film. They tried to do a 3D film. Mm-hmm. And one of the conceits with the 3D film and the found footage was it was supposed to be in the 80s, which I kind of agree with.
I remember that. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of ideas, and unfortunately, it would have been great to like just continue the franchise there, but what happened, and there's just no going back.
No.
But like, but again, like there's so many sequels in the series, and characters and ways they can go. They could totally do like, I mean, that's why we have fan films now. It's like, or I like to call them tribute films.
I like that better.
I like tribute. I'm kind of sick of the term fan film, and every single Friday the 13th fan film that gets released now, it says a Friday the 13th fan film, and I'm just like sick of looking at that. But so I will be calling Victim No More a tribute film. But there's so many stories that you could tell, so many characters that branch off from those movies that, you know, I was kicking around an idea of just seeing what happened to Vic Fadden, the guy from Friday the 13th Part 5 that killed Joey at Pinehurst. You know, it's like, well, Roy never killed him, and he was the one who murdered his son. Like, he went to prison, you know, but what if he got out now? Yeah. And what if he has followers?
I like that.
This is an idea that I've kicked around for a while.
There was no...
But it could be just a branched off Friday the 13th tale.
Yeah, you know? Why not? There's no hard rules, and I think that is why the fandom has kind of overtaken this franchise, because a good hamburger is a good hamburger, and if McDonald's is closed, you got to make them yourself, and that's kind of where we're at.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
If you like vintage and retro style, you'll be shopping at these two shops: Paper Doll Vintage Boutique and Paper Doll Curiosity Shop, Long Island's premier shops for vintage, retro, gifts, and more. Paper Doll Vintage in Sayville has all one-of-a-true-kind vintage clothing and accessories for the true vintage lover, while Paper Doll Curiosity in Patchogue carries retro, novelty gifts, toys, clothing. They've got something for everybody. Got something for the whole family. You want the credentials? Paper Doll Vintage Boutique has won first place in Best Vintage Clothing Store in Long Island Press's Best of Long Island. 7 years in a row. Undefeated. Can your vintage and retro store say that? I'm going to tell you what, probably not. Because of the unique nature of the items sold there at both stores, the shop has become a local hub for artists, the community, hosting monthly art shows, classes, events, and even fashion shows. You got to check this out. You got to come down. You got to see it. From theme party goers, theater stylists, companies, photographers, designers, all facets of the industry. How about that period film project? You know, the one that you've been thinking of that needs authentic wardrobe and props? Paper Doll Vintage. Paper Doll Vintage Boutique and Curiosity Shop specializes in distinctive items that are hard to find anywhere else. One of a kind. One of a kind. And you are one of a kind, and you deserve that. Shop paperdoll.com and express your personal style. Monster lovers young and old, living and dead, you can now make it Halloween all year round. The Ghouligans are dying for you to check out their creepy comedy horror show now on their YouTube channel. Have you been ravenous for programs that are geared more towards your sick sensibility? Have you been fiending for horror and comedy so fun that it makes you want to scream? Well, dig no further. Full episodes of the Ghouligans miniseries are available for you to sink your teeth into. And if you don't know about the Ghouligans, it's like the Monkees meets the Munsters meets Pee-wee's Playhouse. These fun party monsters exist purely to bring on the death of your life-sucking, normal, everyday TV show. The Gooligans follows the adventures of Boris Stein, the monstrous Frankenstein construct, Wolfgang W. Wolfgang, the likable lycanthrope, and Void, king of the slow zombies, joined by a cadre of your favorite cult cretins, including vampires, sea creatures, luchadors, and sexy go-go girls. Check out the full episodes of their mini-series now on the Gooligans YouTube channel and have a scary good time. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Hara. Got a question or story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhara@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhara. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhara. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show. Now I want to ask you, you have directed this film, Victim No More. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Are we jumping into that? Or
we're officially jumping into that.
Okay. All right.
I'm an animal. I can't wait.
Okay.
The reality of it is you say to yourself, I want to make this movie. What was the genesis of that?
I mean, it really goes back to childhood. I mean, like I said, my friend Tommy and I, we would always dream of making a Friday the 13th film, and we did eventually when I got a video camera, and in the early 90s we would make like little Jason films, or Friday the 13th ripoff films, or we even made like a Chucky film, which we called Child's Play 7.
Nice.
It was pretty funny, and now they're up to 7, like with Cult of Chucky.
Life imitates art.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually we got there. But it came from that, but it really came to a point where I'm like, for years I was going to make an anthology film. And I was trying to figure out, how do I raise the money for this? I really want to do this. And then I saw Never Hike Alone, which is a fan film that really exploded on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it got over 1 million views, and like it was done with really good quality. Trying to be
I'm trying to gingerly open my iced tea. Hey, 4C Company, if you're out there, I really enjoy your sugar-free half and half.
Oh, we got a sponsor today, yeah. Let me drink from my...
No, because that's the thing. Basically, what you're telling me is you were always making these movies.
Well, I always wanted to make it. I mean, if I had like a lot of money, I would want to make a Friday the 13th film. I love the franchise that much. And of all the franchises that I do love, that would be the one that's possible.
Yeah.
Like Jason in the Woods with a bunch of people, like can't get any easier than that. But it's the quality that wouldn't be there unless you have the money to pay to give it the production it deserves. And Never Hike Alone is something I saw and I was just like, man, great quality, great production value. Like I really enjoyed what they did. And it kind of inspired me to be like, you know what? I'm putting this horror movie anthology thing aside. I really think I should make a Friday the 13th film. I'm a huge fan. And there's connections that I have that I think it would be possible to like pull this off. And at the time I thought, you know what? Let me start an Indiegogo campaign.
Yeah.
And see where this goes. I mean, I'm friends with enough people on Facebook and all the social medias, like, and friends and family that will contribute. Like, I kind of knew that I would make the budget.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought, hey, $13,000 would be enough to make this. And little did I know, because I haven't made a film in 15 years, because I made a bunch of short films in the early to mid 2000s. And I just kind of, life gets in the way, and you kind of, get a normal job and stuff like that. But I said, you know what? If I don't make this, I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. So let me do this. So I put together the Indiegogo campaign, and we raised $13,000.
Wow.
2 days before the pandemic hit. That's when the campaign closed. Thank God, because when the pandemic started, nobody had any money to.
And that was, I think, was at our last. It was like Friday the 13th of 2020.
It was, yeah, March 13th. The campaign ended on March 11th. So I made the 13,000. And as time went on, I realized, like, oh man, unless I start cutting things out of the script, we're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
It's we're not going to be able to afford all this.
And that's a devil's errand,
Yeah,
because
but
there's stuff that you love, but you're like, oh.
Yeah, and there was some things that I did cut out, but for the most part, I kept true to, major plot points and things that happened in the script that I really wanted to show.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, it came to be more than double that.
Wow.
Yeah, it came to be almost $30,000.
Jesus.
And it's not a feature length. And God bless everybody that does feature length Friday the 13th films, but sometimes it's like, if you don't have the budget for it, you should probably just do a short film.
Yeah, I've seen. I'm not gonna be a dick and mention any of them, but I've seen some movies that are mighty suspect. These tribute films, these fan films, that it's like, did you really? It's a lot of filler. A lot of filler. A lot of just. I mean, you could have just cut it in half and had the quality there and rewatchability. Like. Just cut out all that stuff and you'd have a solid film, It's the only franchise that has this whole subculture of people that are making these films, keeping this alive, and you really can't say that about any other franchise.
There's more Friday the 13th fan films on YouTube than any other franchise. There's got to be 100 fan films. I'm not even lying. Like, I watched about 30 of them. And I'm just amazed that it just keeps going. If you put in Friday the 13th fan film, it just does not end.
Yeah, they're doing, I think is the American Film Archive. They're doing the Friday the 13th mixtape, which they can't release on a Blu-ray, but they can do screenings of it. Mm-hmm. And it's 70 minutes of kids in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s that got to make their own little Friday the 13th fan.
I should have thrown in mine.
No, I mean, the thing is I know Bobby, so I've gotten to see a little bit of what this is, and it's kind of much bigger in scope than,
It's bigger in scope. It's bigger than, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think if the fans didn't commandeer the ship, become, I'm the captain now, look into my eyes, if we didn't take it back, I don't know where it would be at this point.
Right.
Would it just be a footnote in the history? But it's such a huge franchise. I mean, it made over $1 billion. The merchandise, the video game,
merchandise is still going. I don't know how they're doing it.
It just keeps going.
I don't know what the rights are when it comes to the merchandise that's still being put out there in, stores.
It's an earner. It's one of these things that quietly it does its numbers, it makes its money, and you'd have to say to yourself, well, you probably remember Sean Cunningham had went to WB, they had the CW,
yes, and
they wanted to do a weekly television show, and it didn't sound too promising.
No, and it's funny, it's the second time I heard I've been to a lot of horror conventions, with Sean Cunningham being there. Let me tell you about Sean Cunningham. Doesn't really seem to understand its success.
Yeah.
And always thinks he wants to do something different with it.
Yeah.
And the fans just kind of want what they're used to, like the Godzilla movies. You want to see Godzilla come out of the water and smash buildings and fight a bad guy or something. Yep. You want James Bond to do his thing.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Just keep it, add a little twist here and there and leave it as it is, and different Jason look, and play with that stuff, but
there's nuances because it's its own little pocket universe,
right?
And there's tropes, there's nuances,
motifs, like things that you got to do
specific to Friday the 13th,
right? And there was two conventions that I went to with Sean Cunningham at a Q&A. One was back in 2001 when Jason X had started filming and was about to be released at the end of that year, I think. But Sean Cunningham asked the audience, and it was him and Kane up on stage. He's like, "Oh, what do you guys think about this? Jason in space."
Oh.
And it was a packed room, and there was a hush over the crowd. And you felt from all the fans, this is not a good idea.
We don't want this.
We don't want this. And like the hush was like uncomfortable. And I felt almost bad for Sean Cunningham and Kane Hodder. But like there was just a hush. And like and immediately you know what everybody was thinking. That were like horror fans in the audience. They were thinking, Leprechaun in space, like, what the fuck? Is this what it's come to?
And you're not coming off a W. You're coming off of Jason Goes to Hell, which for the most part,
body hopping movie.
Yeah, and look, I like Jason Goes to Hell. I think it's cool.
I think it's a fun movie. It's the goriest too.
Yeah.
If you like special effects, it's K&B craziness.
But he Cunningham goes from Paramount, goes to New Line Cinema, and says, we're going to go, I got a young director, we're going to go in this wildly different direction. He pushed for that. And it just, to me, it's kind of like, so your follow-up to that movie, which was not well received, is taking this guy into space? Because now we've gotten to this point where, like, the whole in-space thing, like Hellraiser did it, Leprechaun did it, it's almost kind of like a death sentence, like, not for nothing, like that last Fast and the Furious movie sucked.
Well, I didn't see it, but I heard...
They kind of go to space.
Well, and I heard in the next one they will or something, or...
Stay tuned. I mean... I don't know.
For Fast X.
Yeah, Fast X.
Like Jason X.
Exactly.
But that hush came over. And, and then the second time I saw him was just a few years ago with that whole WB wanted to make a Friday the 13th series.
Yeah.
And he said that it wouldn't really focus on Jason so much. This is what he tells the Q&A audience, that, it wouldn't really have to do with Friday the 13th, but it would be like tales that happen, supernatural things that happen in the town, and like, all these like secrets and things that happen. And once again, the hush over the audience was just like, this is not what we want. Why do you keep doing this? Like, I don't know. So I don't think he really quite understands what he started.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the same thing could be said for John Carpenter. John Carpenter, for a long time, he's come back with these Blumhouse films and he's doing the soundtrack. He's much more involved. But for a long time, he was just, I get a paycheck and you get, he doesn't care.
Yeah, that's fine. He wants to do other things, I love his music.
Yeah, I mean, he's great.
I would love to see one more John Carpenter film. And that film, I want him to have a lot of fun with. And I would love for him to close out a Snake Plissken trilogy, and have that just be the last movie. Just Escape from Earth. It's been talked about for 15 years. It's like just
do it.
You and Kurt.
Yeah.
You did like 4 or 5 movies together. Like just go have fun. And just go crazy. And why isn't Blumhouse saying like, hey, John Carpenter, you really inspired so many movies that we're making. It's like, here's $20 million. Go do. I know Blumhouse has their $4 million, $12 million thing, but like,
I do have a little bit of interesting inside tidbit about that.
Oh, okay.
So right now, John Carpenter is doing the score for the Firestarter remake, because originally
he was supposed to direct.
it, so it's kind of full.
And I
circle
love the
him.
Firestarter story.
Yeah, I even like the soundtrack. The Tangerine Dream did the original soundtrack. Yes. And basically, Tangerine Dream was told, hey, can you make it sound more like John Carpenter? Because Dino De Laurentiis was just a fucking asshole in a lot of ways.
Right.
But the inside track was Blumhouse had a film in development with Carpenter, and they just couldn't come to an agreement. But from what Jason Blum has gone on record saying, like, they are actively, they're just like, John, what can we do? So, like, his last thing was, like, I want to do a Western. I never got to do a Western. And I'm sure somebody could get it financed. You could get it, but that's not what Blumhouse does. So the Western was, like, well, are there monsters in it, John? No? Okay. Yeah, we're not interested, so.
Yeah, and that kind of sounds like, I was thinking when you were when we were talking about John Carpenter, when you first brought him up, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, he wants to make a Western.
Yep.
It's like nobody's going to give him money to make that Western. Same with George Romero. He wanted to make a Western also. Like him and Carpenter were similar that way. They always wanted to make Westerns. And I'm kind of glad that Romero, as much as it's not liked, he kind of got to make a little bit of a Western with Survival of the Dead.
Yeah.
Like his final film. Like he had the cowboys on horses and the family, the warring families and stuff. I'm kind of happy for him, and he was satisfied by it. So it's like, you know what, good. He got to make his like somewhat Western.
He got to do
a
something.
Western zombie
he was
movie,
passionate
basically.
about.
Yeah, wasn't well received, but whatever. You got to be happy for the guy,
And that's the thing is,
and his legacy for what he left.
the
So,
difference between me and my father is my father grew up watching Westerns.
same with my dad,
So we grew up watching all of this smut.
right? Trash.
All this trash. And now it's like we're kind of at that age where we can make these movies. We can produce them.
Mhm.
So what was one thing that you wanted to do differently? You said to yourself, there's one thing I can add to this franchise with Victim No More. What was it that you were trying to bring to the table?
Well, I can tell you this. I made a list of things that I would like to see as a fan. So, after I saw like Never Hike Alone and, one or two of the other fan films, I was like, you know what would I bring to it? I really wanted to, I wanted to tell the story of, like all the final girls
Yeah.
or final boys, if you want to count Tommy Jarvis and a couple of the other guys after that. I really wanted to tell the story of like, well, these people kind of grew up, had families of their own. How do the kids deal with what their parents went through? Like, because their parents, they probably still suffer from anxiety and depression and, the constant memories of what they went through, this horrible traumatic thing of a killer killing all their friends and them escaping. And like, they probably, so
It's intergenerational trauma.
right. Yes, exactly. And I wanted to tell a story about a young man that's kind of has the overprotective mom because she was a final girl. She went through trauma with Jason Voorhees, and she's overprotective. He's always paranoid about. He's in his like 20s now, his mid 20s, and he's like, she always wants to know where he's going. So he's feeling boxed in his life, so he's going to therapy and stuff. And I wanted to tell the story of him trying to help his family by showing them that Jason Voorhees doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
That he's just a legend. And so in his naive thinking, he's like, well, I'm just going to go to Camp Crystal Lake and show him that it's like, it's peaceful now. There's nothing, the past can't hurt you anymore, and it's a line in the movie too. Prove to them that the past can't help, and like, please let me live my own life.
Yeah.
Let me be free. I know it was a horrible thing to happen to you, but you need to like let your children live their lives.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of, so I wanted to kind of tell, like, it almost sounds like a family drama, but put into a Friday 13th film. But I kind of wanted to, tell that kind of a story.
And it hasn't been done.
Hasn't been done. And of course, I'm going to have the things that you expect in a Friday 13th.
Yeah, like hey folks, it's still a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
movie.
It's like, don't worry. Like when the movie starts, you're going to be like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, this does not feel like a Friday. But then as it goes on, it will be a Friday 13th.
But you know what? I'm more fine with the family drama than going to space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At least it's grounded into, where you want to be in a Friday 13th film. So there was that. Again, when I saw some of these fan films, I saw like high production and some good production here and there, but there was things in it that I was kind of like, all right, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Things like, oh my God, everybody in the world has a drone camera.
Oh yeah. We've got endless drone shots.
Endless drone shots in every single film, big or small. because so-and-so has a drone camera and we could use it and it's great to look at. But I really wanted to give it the feel of like an old school Friday the 13th movie. Do you remember any helicopter shots
Nope.
of Friday the 13th movies?
Nope.
Any of them?
Nope.
Maybe the remake has one or two. I'm not sure. I don't think so, though. I don't even think in 2009.
I think that's the secret, though. If you're gonna go back to those, if we're making a Friday the 13th film, that's the perfect approach.
Right.
Like, what was the tech they had to deal with? You know, like what's
They kept it grounded. They kept it, and that's kind of what I really wanted to do was keep it old school like that.
Yeah.
And Sean King, being the cinematographer, was really happy about what I wanted to do, because he was just kind of like, well, the drone camera is going to cost this much money and you have to do this and that and everything. And it was kind of like, you know what, let's scrap that, because there was 2 shots that were going to be drone camera shots. And I was just like, I really thought about it. And I just said, you know what, let's go old school.
Yeah.
Let's do a lot of things, just whole scenes taking place in one shot. Like let's, not because we didn't have the time or the budget to do that, but that's just kind of how those movies were shot then.
Yeah.
Like they plan out the shot. There wasn't a lot of like close-ups, from here to here and here. It's like, let's just keep it old school.
Yeah, there's a bit of, going back to those early films.
No shaky camera.
No. Oh,
no,
yeah.
There's no shaky camera work in it. Just like, here's, a lot of nice shots, Steadicam shots and tripod shots, and like let's keep it old school. Another thing I really wanted to stay away from was my phone. It has no service.
Oh no. Yeah.
No. If I always told myself if I ever had to write that line in a script, I would just kill myself.
I'm glad to hear it. Because,
so guess what?
Yeah.
Everybody's phone works perfectly fine. You're in New Jersey, okay?
Yeah.
Which is where supposedly the Friday the 13th movies take place, correct?
Blairstown?
Well, it's not Blairstown. It's like Cunningham County or
Yeah.
Wessex County or something, but basically it's
Jersey.
It's tri-state area.
We're Jersey adjacent.
We're Jersey adjacent. So I'm just like, you know what? The phones work.
Yeah.
I
I like that, though, and this is, again, I always talk about, I like when especially directors make choices. That's a choice.
That's definitely a choice.
Because
it's so easy to say, like, I got no service, and have the guy
oh boy,
hold the phone up to the sky and be like, I don't know, I got 1 bar, and like, I don't need that nonsense.
And to be honest with you, like, a phone can't save you. If you're in imminent danger,
Right.
what are you going to do? Fucking broadcast it to TikTok? Like, look, he's chasing us. Oh my God.
Right.
And you know what? To be perfectly honest with you, I'm sure there is a film that somebody has conjured up in their brain that has to deal with social media. You got, like, say, a group of kids and they're like, hey, let's go out and see if Jason Voorhees is real.
Right.
And they try to.
That's probably what that found footage
Yeah.
sequel was to the 2009 one. But so there was definitely a list that I wanted to be like, all right, I want to see this, I don't want to see this. Another thing was I noticed a lot of the fan films, and believe me, I respect every single one of the fan films.
Yeah.
And that they made a movie, and they definitely have fans of them, and I like a lot of what they did, even in the ones that I don't like some of the choices that they did.
Yeah, there's passion there.
Yeah, there's still passion there. A lot of them kind of do the fan film of, oh, this takes place directly after part 6 or part 7 or wherever, like it's a sequel to this, and they just ignore the rest. I'm not into, like, let's ignore any of the sequels and pick up where, the last one that you liked was.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do that. So I just kind of make it more, I don't not reference the sequels that I don't care about. I don't ignore them, though.
Yeah, there's no reason to bring it up.
Yeah, I just don't bring them up. I treat it, again, like Godzilla, where it's like, hey, it's just time for Jason to return.
Yeah.
He's coming out of the lake onto his territory and doing what he does. that's it. I don't have to like ignore. Because I was messing around with the idea of like, oh, this one can take place in between parts 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And play with the idea of like what I talked about earlier, where like, oh, maybe he gets leather gloves by the end, and that explains why.
Yeah.
Like he has gloves in part 8, but
and that's something fans would love. I'd like it.
Yeah, like little dopey, explanations like that. That. Yeah, exactly. But I decided not to. I'm very subtle with a lot of references, and I love subtle references because that's for the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Like the little things. Like there's one thing that I cut out of the script, but I was going to have a character show up whose name was Mary Jo Conrad, which was a character that was just mentioned in name in part 3. Sorry, part 3D.
Part 3D.
Part 3D. By Chris Higgins. She brings up, oh, you could have spent the weekend with Mary Jo Conrad and you settled for little old me. So it was just a name of somebody that's a character that we never see, but that's just mentioned. I'm like, oh, it would be cool to have like a face now to go with that name to show up in the film. So I was going to do that, but I wound up cutting that scene because of budget reasons.
What's crazy is like people talk now about these films like the Marvel stuff and everything else. It caters too much to fans, and there's too much fan service, and there's too many Easter eggs, and Friday the 13th is
I
like
love fan service. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, of course, but Friday the 13th has got something even better. The fans are making it themselves.
Yes.
It's an active community that's like, okay, well, you're not going to give us new ones. We'll make them ourselves.
Absolutely.
And you got to love that DIY, energy.
Right. Absolutely.
So I just got to ask some questions here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
Spoiler-free questions.
Spoiler-free questions.
Okay.
So when can we be looking forward to seeing this film?
Right now we're on a deadline for the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay.
There will be a friends and family screening on Long Island, which of course you're all invited to.
Oh, right.
Even Pete, your producer here, who's also a location scout, credit, because we did go check out. What was the name of that place? It's in Hauppauge by your house. Yeah, Hoyt Farms.
Oh, Hoyt Farms, great.
Yeah, I was looking for different locations for certain scenes. And thank you, by the way, for promoting and supporting this film.
Somebody's got to do it
for the last couple of years. No, you fantastic. I loved your little things that you created, for the Instagram and everything. That was great.
It's the least I could do.
Thank you.
Believe me, because I obviously
and I can't do that stuff. I'm like, stupid when it comes to like technology. So I love when friends of mine like jump in and like create a little, Victim No More, Friday 13th, thing.
Well, what it is, and we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it, and this is why you got to go see the movie. But
right.
When Bobby had told me what he was doing with it, I got really excited, and that's just from the place of being a fan and saying like, okay, wow, this is a different take. And from what I do know and what I can tell you, this is something different than you've seen before, and I mean that in a good way.
Right.
It's got all that Friday the 13th goodness, but he's got some really cool twists that I don't think anybody's going to see coming.
No, and there's definitely, a level of some fan service in it. And there's definitely something in there that Friday the 13th fans would, have been dying to see for years.
Yeah.
And, it's like the closest I could do, with the people that I know that could kind of pull that off a little bit. Hopefully it's pleasing enough, because they're just never going to do that particular idea that fans have wanted for all these years in a big studio film.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they're going to wind up restarting the franchise anyway.
Gotta.
So they're going to go wherever they go with that. But what was I going to say before I started thanking you?
Oh, yeah. Well, don't even worry about that because I already have another question.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
There was a friends and family screening we're going to do. And then at the end of August, we're going to have a convention screening.
Nice.
So on that same weekend, it's so convention screening is basically showing it to the world. So on that same weekend, that's when we're going to upload to premiere it on YouTube, Vimeo, and there's going to be a website. The website is up right now, but there's going to be a lot more added to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of under construction a little bit, but it's victimnomorefilm.com. So
Put that in your browser and smoke it.
Yes, exactly.
I promise we're not going to. My name's Bobby Heckman, and we're not going to space.
Yeah,
I promise you.
We are definitely not going to space. If we had a budget of $14 million or something, maybe we'd go to space.
We're going back to space. We got the budget. They approved it.
I want to know the story of Earth 2. Jason lands in a lake and it starts all over again at the end. I thought that was a perfect ending.
Okay, this is where I make
In a very stupid movie, it was a perfect ending.
I make a deep, dark confession that I've read the comic books and I've read the novels. The Jason
I have
X
not
novels.
read the novels, but I read the comic books and I really enjoyed them.
Got to be honest with you, the novels were not bad.
Okay.
They're not great, but they're not bad.
All right. Cool. I'm just, again,
If you're looking for some,
they could suck, but hey, we got to be glad they exist.
yeah,
You know?
some breezy summer reading. If you're looking for those Jason X, I was going to say softcore. What do they? There's hardbound and there's
Hardcover and
I can't
paperback.
Paperback. Thank you. Oh
Yes.
my God.
Paperback.
Wow. This is so okay. So let me ask you this because this is another question that I have.
Go for it.
After everything you've been through to
boy.
make this movie.
Oh God.
Okay.
I don't want to even go there.
No, we
but-
don't even go. We don't even need to go there.
Okay.
Someone says to you, I want to do this. I want to make a Halloween tribute movie. What is the one piece of indelible advice that you would give to another filmmaker?
Hey, if you got the money and the time, just do it.
Wow.
Like a Nike.
Yeah.
Just do it. Have they done other films though? Or is it their first time project? Are they aware of the stress and things that could happen throughout making a film?
I think
the
that's
hard work. Are they aware of the hard work?
Well, they're going to find out.
They're going to find out about the 16-hour days and the Oh, here's one thing too. Now, after filming the movie last summer, I now realize why they shot basically all of the Friday the 13th movies in the fall.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the what not to do. So what would you tell filmmakers not to do?
All right, if you're going to make a movie, don't do it in the summer.
Okay.
Where it's 90 degrees and basically 90% of your movie takes place outside in the woods.
I can't lie.
In 100-degree heat,
Producer Pete and I did not work on Victim No More. But at the same time,
you would have been miserable.
we were getting texts, we're following everybody on social media.
Right.
And we're making
It looked like a good time, didn't it?
Well, we're doing this little podcast and we're inside. We're indoor kids, like Pete and I have allergies. We're like, oh, we can't go outside. So like I'm looking at the photos and I'm like, it's really hot out.
You can see the sweat on all the PAs walking around. And honestly, the days that I thought would be the worst days of shooting turned out to be some of the best.
Yeah.
The days when there was like 30 people on set. And I thought it was going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be 100 degrees. Everybody's going to have to use the bathroom every 5 seconds. Little did I know when it's hot in summer and people are drinking a lot of water, they're also sweating it out so they don't use the bathroom as much. I had no idea.
Dear God.
This is biology. One-on-one. I had no idea this is what happens. And then the days that I thought would be much easier were the worst days of shooting.
Really?
Yeah, day 2. The dreaded day 2 where it was definitely in the 90s and I threw out my back.
Ooh.
And still had hours and hours more of shooting and
Jesus.
Got a rash and like it was not a good, and we had to change locations from where we were. It was a terrible day, and we didn't get to shoot everything that we needed to shoot, so we had to have another day for shooting.
Can I
Like
say
the rest of that scene?
Am I allowed to say who plays your killer?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, our friend.
Our friend James Taffarelli. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's an actor, and he was telling me that just from the makeup, the prosthetics, the whole nine, just buckets of sweat coming out of the guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was pretty rank. He would have to like, he would have to unclothe before getting in the car and put everything in trash bags, and and then we'd have to clean certain things, and
yeah. It's one of those. It's one of those things.
You know how pussy Jason was in Jason Takes Manhattan?
Yeah,
that's how pussy he was, like in real life.
Super pussy. It's crazy though, because I even said to James in passing, I'm like, dude, how fucking cool is it? I'm like, you got to play the killer. You got to play the man.
It was great.
And then James kind of made this face like, about that, like, because it's one of these.
He loved every second of it, and he even in like he said on the days that were rough, with him in like full makeup and costume, he after the day was done, he was he was like, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great.
Yeah.
He's like it might have been a 16-hour crazy rough day, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah,
every single part
you're
of it
living
was
your
rough.
dream. You're living your fantasy. It's
like I said, day 2 was one of the worst days. Day 3 was the next day, and even by day 3, the very next day, I was like, you know what? That was totally worth everything that we shot yesterday. Yeah, it was rough. It was miserable, but it was great.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be great.
Everybody wants to be the Incredible Hulk, but nobody wants to be Lou Ferrigno, sitting, getting painted green for 16 hours a day. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy being green.
It really isn't easy being green.
Bobby, if there's anything else that you would like to say about Victim No More, hey, here's a question for you.
Ooh, another one.
I've got tons of questions.
Ooh, okay.
Very inquisitive, a curious nature. If you could, would you make a sequel?
That's a very, very good question. And originally, I wasn't planning on making a sequel.
Okay.
But just in the last couple of weeks, and of course, it depends on the reaction to the film.
Yeah,
honestly. Like,
how it's received.
Yeah, how it's received, how many views it gets, and but even so, I do have 2 sequels in mind.
Oh,
and there would never be more than that. I would have a Victim No More trilogy.
Nice.
And that would be it. But I wouldn't do it like, hey, let me just start raising money next year and like make it, next year or the year after. I have other things I want to do, but it would be kind of an idea of every 4 or 5 years.
Revisit it.
I would revisit it. Yeah, I kind of want to like let the fan film or tribute film thing maybe die down a little bit. I don't think it will.
No.
But like kind of like, let's let it die down a little bit and then just come out with it. But I do have a sequel ready to go, as far as I'm so eager to write it.
Yeah.
And then a sequel to that, which would end a trilogy. And I think it would be a really proper way to end the trilogy.
Hey man, if
David ties,
Gordon
of course,
Green,
directly into all the original Friday the 13th movies.
There are trilogies within movies.
The Halloween movies that are going on right now. He's about to end that.
4, 5, and 6 were kind of a trilogy.
Yes. 4, 5, and 6 of Friday the 13th
were a trilogy.
And then 3, 4, and 5 with Nightmare on Elm Street.
I gotta say though, just off the record, well, it's going to be on the record now.
Right.
David Gordon Green had better stick the landing with Halloween Ends. He's
got
to stick that ending.
Yeah. Evil better die that night.
Yeah. Evil better be put to rest.
Put to rest.
And it's funny because at first the producers of that film were like, well, we have this vision with David Gordon Green and we want him to execute it. And now they're already like, well, it'll be the end of his trilogy, but we're going to make more movies. Like, don't get, hey.
I do want to say, a big shout out to Sean King. I mean, without him, I would not have been able to make the movie and have it look as good as it's going to look. Because I mean, he shot it for free. I mean, I don't know if you want to count food and stuff like that, but my wife, gave him a kidney, so he's like, well, I'll shoot your movie for free, like it's, yeah. I mean, that's a story in itself, of course.
That's the documentary about Victim No More.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a featurette on the Blu-ray
Nice.
about, I don't know if that'll be mentioned, but I'm mentioning it right now, right here. But that was an amazing thing. I mean, and nobody suffered more than Sean this past summer, like shooting the movie. Like he's dealing with the new kidney. He's not a fan of the sun, so working in that
vampire, Sean King.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So it was crazy, but I love him, and I'm gonna worship him until I die. And hopefully, if we do a sequel, I will pay him
handsomely
to do the sequels. So,
well, the crazy thing is that for a while, a lot of us were, getting used to the modern, getting our information on the internet, and we used to get excited, like, oh wait, I heard they're going to do this with Friday the 13th, and now the trajectory of it has completely changed. People are more excited now about these fan films because they're like, yeah, when they get their shit together, we'll get more Friday the 13th movies. But until then, these fan films, these tribute films have now become, people are excited. People are like, they want to see the next Never Hike Alone.
There's a lot of great ideas that a lot of, like Vin DeSanti, with the Never Hike Alone movies. And there's some great ideas out there that they're playing with. And I, as a fan, I love it. Like it or hate it, I love that they exist. I keep saying that, but I do. I like that there's these movies out there.
Well, I think Victim No More will probably lend to that mythology.
Yes.
It's its own kind of like, it was one of these things that was fostered by a studio, but now it's like it's got its own life. It's its own biome.
I really hope so. I really hope that people really enjoy the story that we're telling, that it's different. I mean, you're going to have those same Friday 13th motifs and things in there. But I hope the fans really enjoy what we do. I'm prepared for all the hate.
Yeah,
because
it comes with territory.
It comes with the fandom. Like half the people hate it, half the people like it. But see what happens. And I'm not somebody that likes to like go out there and promote it a lot. I just want to like let the word on the street hit and let it just make a life of its own. I'm not somebody who's doing it to get other projects made. Yeah, you can call me a filmmaker, but like I'm not looking to make it a career.
Yeah.
I love the Friday the 13th movies. I wanted to make a Friday the 13th film. I did it.
And this is your way.
I know what's entertaining in a movie to me, so let me try to do.
You're giving back to the mythology. You're giving back to the franchise. And I think that's the most we can ask from a fan.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there, step away, see what happens.
Yeah.
People respond, then I'll think about sequels.
Bobby, where can people find out, just to reiterate for folks who might have come in late or maybe they were using the bathroom, where can they find out about Victim No More?
You could find out on Facebook. There's a Facebook page, Victim No More. I think if you just put in Victim No More, it should pop up. It might be a survival group of some sort, but like Victim No More movie, if you put in Facebook, or through me, Bobby Heckman, you'll see a link. And Instagram, VNM_2020. 2020 is when it was supposed to come out, but you know, pandemic. So postponed some things. I'm not really on Twitter because I just don't quite get it.
It's okay.
Just something this 46-year-old guy just never grasped.
You're fine.
Grasped.
You're not missing anything. I wish you were, but you're not.
I'm not on TikTok.
You're fine. Also, check that under. You're fine.
Okay. Maybe I'll make Victim No More a 15-second TikTok video instead.
I like that. That's what the fans really want.
Jerry, I'll let you edit it into
Yeah.
a 15-second film.
It's going to be brutal. Bobby, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
it.
much.
The
Had an
second
awesome
guest.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Me and Sean King?
Yep. He was first. You're second.
Oh, my God. Man, I don't know.
Who knows what's coming next?
He said he didn't want anybody to... He wanted to be the only guest. Is this going to be This is a super special secret episode, then. He can't hear this.
No. You know what? Let's murder him. No, I'm kidding. That's
Let's
terrible.
do that.
All right, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Heckman has been my guest. Victim no more. Filmmaking. Do you want to make films? I told you in the beginning. You got to listen to me. Go make your own films. Lloyd Kaufman, make your own damn movie. Fuck around and find out. Ladies and gentlemen and friends beyond the binary, mostly horror, but always genre. This has been The Offering. I'm Jerry Horror. Be well. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. I'm very sorry. Produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or a story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit us up at Twitter @jerryhorror or on Instagram @jerryhorror. You getting the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are provided for you and your family. I want you to enjoy. Just join us next time for another offering.
I'm Tom. My partner Mike and I have been friends and coworkers for a long time. And at work, we're known for our daily water cooler conversations about TV shows and movies we are currently watching. Whether we're arguing over which Marvel TV show is the best or agreeing about which Netflix original movie is the worst, the pop culture conversation is always popping on Two Brothers at a Water Cooler. You can listen to Two Brothers at a Water Cooler on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are available. Subscribe and share today.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.